Good morning. Today is day 30 of the videos and of the habit forming. Yesterday I completed day 29 of my no bread habit. Getting easier and easier every day, I tell you what. So, reading Atomic Habits still, and we're in chapter 20. And yesterday we talked about making sure that you noticed if the habits that you were forming were going the wrong direction, going in a bad direction, and that we needed to review ourselves on a regular basis in order to make sure that we're continuing to make forward progress and upward progress. We want to improve ourselves every single day. So the book tells a story about the 1985 Lakers team. Pat Riley was the coach. It was dubbed by many pundits that it was the best team in NBA history. Like nobody had ever put together a better team. And sure enough, they had an unbelievable season. Like they crushed it. Nobody had have a better season at the time. I don't know if anybody's had a better season since, but just an amazing season, amazing team. And they didn't make it to the NBA championships. They actually lost in the semifinals. So Pat Riley got frustrated and he looked at it and he's like, this is really irritating. I've got this amazing team. We did all this work. We're having an amazing season only to watch our abilities trail down as we didn't focus on the basics. So we created a system called the CBE, Careers Best Effort System. And he started ranking each of his players by the good things that they did on the basketball court. And this wasn't just, did they make their shots? Did they get the rebound? It was also, did they go for the rebound? Did they attempt the shots? Did they do anything heroic while on the court, like going for a loose ball or helping out a player who lost sight of the person they were matched up with, et cetera, et cetera. So getting out there and being heroic and pushing for new efforts would get them points. And so then he'd take all those points and he'd divide it by their playing time and they'd get their average. A good player would be around the 0.500, so the 500 range. Elite players were always over 800. They said that Magic Johnson would often score in the thousands, which means that he did more good things every minute than he played. And they would take those numbers and compare the players to each other. They actually started taking those numbers for other teams and other players outside of the teams and comparing them month over month, year over year to their efforts from prior months and prior years. And anybody that continued to improve, the goal was to improve by at least 1% each game. Anybody that continued to improve, was on the good list. And those results were posted in the team locker room so everybody knew who was having their career best effort. Pat Riley had a quote, which was, "Sustaining an effort is the most important thing for any enterprise. The way to be successful is to learn how to do things right and then to do them the same way every time." And apparently his methods worked because that next year, they won the championship. And then they did again the next year. The Lakers, I hear, had a pretty good year this year, right? So watching these career best efforts and making minor modifications to improve and pushing for that improvement makes a difference. It's not only athletes that do this. We've heard stories of comedians that do this. They'll take a notebook up on the stage and small comic shows and give some jokes, and the ones that work they make a mark next to, and the ones that don't work they also make a mark next to, and they figure out which ones work best, and that's where they take those to their big shows. We know that business leaders and investors will do this, executives, where they make decision journals. They journal at the end of their day about what they did throughout the day, and they reflect on whether or not they made good decisions or bad decisions. And then they can go back later to even look at those decisions and see how they affected their companies. Sales teams do this by tracking your activities at the end of the day. How many conversations, how many phone calls, and making sure that they know if the phone call and the conversation converted into an appointment or converted into a sale. And so that way they know if their conversations are getting better, if their scripts are getting better, if the people are working harder or faking it, right? So improvement's not just about learning the habits, it's about fine-tuning them and reflecting on them. One thing that you can do to fine-tune and reflect on yours is to ask questions that I ask in one-on-ones when I sit down with my teams and with my people. And 3 of those questions every single week, whether it's in the team meeting or individually, are always, what went well for you this week? What didn't go well for you this week? Or what could you have done better? And what did you learn? A lot of times we learn from our mistakes, right? Like, in fact, many, many times we learn from our mistakes. So what went well, what didn't go well, and what did you learn? The Spanx founder has a great video I encourage you to look up, which talks about how her dad used to ask the question every single night at their dinner table, what did you fail at? Failure is not a bad thing, but it's our reflection upon that failure that helps us to move forward and improve. So definitely take that time to reflect. Look at your activities. Look at how you did. Look at what it is that you're doing. Take that time to reflect. Atomic Habits says to do this at least yearly. I don't think that's long enough. We talked in another video about how, or short enough, how if you don't adjust in enough time, like a 1% difference over the course of a year could really put you in the wrong place. I'm going to say at least weekly you should ask yourselves those questions. So pick a day, even go down your 66-day habit and circle that day on each, maybe every 7 days for the rest of the journey, and just ask yourselves those questions. And we'll say them again. What went well? What didn't go well? And what did I learn in this past week? And that way you can adjust the activities to make sure that you're continuing to challenge yourself in a way that you're continuing to improve. And as you stack those habits over time and you continue to look at those habits, you can continue to challenge yourself with new habits, working on the old ones. So I also think that if you look at your habits daily, it's not bad. It's not a bad idea to look at what you should be doing every single day. I mean, we're checking it off on the challenge, right? That's just a quick look to make sure that we actually completed the habits. If you look at every single activity that you're doing, though, it could lead us into an analysis of paralysis type mode. And that's not what you want. That can cause you to freeze up, and freezing up is never good. And that actually sounds like another video. So that's what we'll talk about tomorrow. What happens when that mindset goes into a place where you start to freeze, and how do you stay in that good mindset? That's tomorrow. Thanks everybody for joining me. I hope everybody's being successful. And again, please feel free to post your own accountability as you go through this. If you're not in one of our accountability groups, please feel free to invite others if you think that these videos or others in the group could help them. And very soon I'm gonna really be reaching out to you all and asking you to post as many things as you can to just help this group grow and learn from each other. We're over 4 weeks in. We're almost at our halfway point, and if you're behind on watching these videos, you'll almost be at your halfway point by the time you get to this video. So I'd love to learn from each other. Thanks everybody.